In a moment that's already being called historic, New York City, the largest, loudest, and most diverse city in the United States, has just elected its first Muslim and South Asian mayor. His name? Zohran Mamdani. At only 34 years old, this young democratic socialist from Queens has gone from being a local assemblyman to holding the most powerful office in America's biggest city. His rise has been nothing short of meteoric, and his victory has sent shockwaves across the nation. To some, he's a symbol of hope, compassion, and progress. To others, he's a dangerous radical, a man whose ideas might be too bold for a city already bursting at the seams. But who exactly is Zohran Mamdani? What does he stand for? And how did he manage to inspire millions in one of the toughest political arenas on earth? Tonight, we take you inside his journey, from his immigrant roots and activist beginnings to his groundbreaking mayoral win that's already changing the tone of American politics. Born in Uganda to an academic father and an award-winning filmmaker mother, Zohran Mamdani moved to New York City when he was just 7 years old. His parents, both Harvard graduates, instilled in him a sense of curiosity, justice, and cultural pride. Growing up in Queens, one of the most diverse neighborhoods in the world, he saw firsthand how inequality shapes lives. He attended the Bronx High School of Science, later earning a degree in Africana Studies at Bowdoin College. But Mamdani wasn't just a student. He was an organizer. He co-founded a campus group supporting justice in Palestine and often spoke out about the struggles of marginalized people. Before politics, he worked as a housing counselor, helping low-income families fight eviction, a job that gave him a front-row seat to the challenges New Yorkers face every day. His personal story, an immigrant, Muslim, millennial, became the heartbeat of his campaign. To his supporters, he didn't just talk about change, he embodied it. When Mamdani entered the mayoral race, few people outside of Queens even knew his name. But his message, bold, unapologetic, and deeply personal, spread quickly through social media. Unlike traditional politicians, he didn't speak in polished soundbites. He spoke like the people he represented, passionate, direct, and real. Videos of him talking about rent, grocery costs, and bus fares went viral. He filmed campaign ads in Urdu and Arabic, met with tenants in crowded apartment blocks, and prayed with imams at local mosques. For many Muslim and South Asian Americans, his rise was emotional. It felt like history being written. To stand as a Muslim in public, he once said, is to sacrifice the safety of shadows. That vulnerability resonated across faiths and ethnicities. Younger voters especially saw in him an authenticity missing from American politics. And as donations poured in from small contributors, his campaign transformed from a long shot into a powerful movement. But with fame came fierce opposition. Critics accused Mamdani of being too inexperienced to run America's biggest city, while others labeled his ideas radical or dangerous. Former President Donald Trump called him a communist, warning that his policies would destroy New York. Yet Mamdani stayed firm, using the attacks to energize his supporters. In his victory speech, he looked straight into the camera and said, "Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, turn the volume up. To get to any of us, you'll have to get through all of us." That line spread like wildfire online. What made Mamdani's win so remarkable wasn't just his identity, it was his vision. He talked about freezing rent for 4 years across 1 million apartments, raising the city's minimum wage to $30 an hour by 2030, and making public buses free. These weren't just talking points. They were challenges to decades of economic inequality that had made New York unlivable for so many working families. Housing, however, is just one piece of Mamdani's ambitious plan. He wants to make everyday life more affordable for all New Yorkers. His proposal includes creating a network of city-owned grocery stores across the 5 boroughs, expanding on the 6 existing ones, offering cheaper essentials to residents. Public transportation is next. Free buses and faster service. A plan projected to cost $630 million annually, though critics warn it could reach $1 billion. Childcare is another top priority, aiming to reduce the crushing costs many families face. To fund these programs, Mamdani proposes raising the corporate tax to 11.5% and adding a 2% surcharge for residents earning over $1 million, estimating $9 billion in new revenue. Supporters say this is bold but necessary. Critics warn it could drive businesses and wealthy residents out of the city. Either way, New York is about to test policies that could reshape urban living in America. Mamdani's vision also extends to public safety, but in ways that break from traditional approaches. He wants to create a Department of Community Safety, shifting many mental health-related 911 calls away from police officers and into the hands of trained social workers and counselors. The goal is to address crises without escalating violence, providing real support to vulnerable residents. Critics, including his Republican opponent Curtis Sliwa, argue this approach is unrealistic and unsafe, claiming trained social workers cannot respond effectively to dangerous situations. Supporters counter that New York's current system over-relies on law enforcement for problems that require healthcare and social solutions. The debate highlights a broader tension in urban policy, balancing innovation, public safety, and accountability in a city of over 8 million residents. Another cornerstone of Mamdani's platform is economic equality. He wants to raise the minimum wage to $30 per hour by 2030, a move aimed at lifting tens of thousands of workers out of poverty. Critics argue that a jump this large could force businesses to cut jobs or automate positions, potentially harming the very people the policy intends to help. Yet, his supporters point to the rising cost of living, with average Manhattan rents hitting nearly $4,800 per month and Brooklyn apartments surpassing $3,600. For residents struggling to afford basic necessities, these policies promise tangible relief. Mamdani's commitment to affordability resonates particularly with millennials and working-class families who feel left behind in New York's booming economy. On international issues, Mamdani has taken stances that set him apart from many Democrats. He's vocal in support of Palestinians and critical of Israeli policies, calling for accountability for human rights violations. He has avoided endorsing Israel as a Jewish state, emphasizing equality and universal human rights. At the same time, he has condemned anti-Semitism and pledged to expand funding to combat hate crimes locally. These positions reflect his broader belief in justice and equity, though they have sparked controversy and media scrutiny. Balancing these global stances with the day-to-day needs of New Yorkers will test his political skills and his ability to navigate the complex web of local and international politics. Despite the challenges ahead, Mamdani's supporters see him as a transformative leader, one who represents hope, authenticity, and the power of new voices in politics. From his immigrant roots to his bold platform addressing housing, wages, transit, and public safety, he embodies a new generation of leadership unafraid to challenge the status quo. The critics will undoubtedly continue to question his experience, feasibility, and vision. But for millions of New Yorkers, the election of Zohran Mamdani signals a city ready for change. Whether he succeeds or faces setbacks, his story is already historic, shaping the future of New York City and setting an example for political courage across the nation.